simplify square root 72. In order to simplify this square root, we have to make prime factorization to 72. So we will make it like this, and we start prime factoring it. So dividing by 2, it will be 36. By 2, it's 18. By 2, it's 9. 3 equals 3, and by 3 is 1. Then, because here is square root, so the index here is 2. So this means that from each two numbers or two factors that are like each other, I will take only one. So from each two, I take one. So cross them and take one. And from another typical two factors that are 3 and 3, I also cross them and take one of them. And what remains, which is 2, this remains inside the square root. So the answer here will be 2 times 3, that is 6, and square root 2, this is the answer. So why did I take only one from each two equal factors? Because I'm taking the square root. So this means that, in other words, the 72 is like 2 times 2 times 2 times 3 times 3. So 2 times 2 would be 4 times 2, and 3 times 3 is 9. And we know that this will be equal to square root 4 times square root 2 times square root 9. Square root 4 is 2, and square root 9 is 3. Let me put it here, and square root 2 as it is. So this would be 6 square root 2. So as you see here, I just got it in one step in here. Now simplify square root 5 times square root 48. We know that square root 5 will stay square root 5 because 5 is just a prime number. So let us see the 48. How do we factor the 48? So let us make prime factor for 48. So 48 will be divided by 2 to be 24, divided by 2 to be 12, divided by 2 to be 6, and by 2, 3, and 3, and 1. So here this will be square root 5. I will write it as it is, and the square root 48 will be that from each two equal factors I'll take one, cross them, and from each another two factors, cross them and take another 2, and what remains inside the square root is just square root 3. So here will be square root 5 times 2 times 2 is 4, 4 square root 3. So this will be 4 square root 5 square root 3. We know that square root 5 times square root 3 is equal to square root 5 times 3. That is, the final answer will be 4 times square root 15. Now, if we have a square root of 24 over 27, the first thing to do, step number 1, is you simplify the fraction first, if possible. So simplify, if possible, first. So we know that 24 over 27 both can be divided by 3. So this radical will be 24 over 3 will be 8, and 27 divided by 3 is 9. So my radical now is square root 8 over 9. And we know that square root 8 over 9 can be divided into square root 8 over square root 9. We all know that square root 9 is 3, and square root 8, I can do it like this. 8, factor it by 2, 4, by 2, 2, and by 2 is 1. So from each two equal factors, I take 1, and what remains is this one under the square root. So it will be 2 square root 2 over 3, and this is the final answer. Now one more example. Square root 525 x power 4 y power 5 z power 5. How can we do this? The first thing is that I'm going to separate it into square root 525 times square root x power 4, square root y power 5, and square root z power 5. Now for 525, I will make the factor tree here, or the prime factorization. 525 can be divisible by 5 to be 105, and again by 5 to be 21, and then by 3 this is 7, and by 7 this is 1. So 525, from each two factors that are alike each other, I cross them and I take one of them, and what remains inside the square root is 3 times 7. So 3 times 7, that is 21 under the square root. So this is the square root of 525. Now x power 4 under the square root, we know that x power 4 we can write it as x power 2 times x power 2. And let us write y power 5, y power 2 times y power 2 times y power just a 1. Also the z power 5 is the same, z power 2, z power 2, and z power 1. Again I will write 5 square root 21 as it is. Now x squared times x squared under the square root, I take only one of them outside to be x squared. Here y squared and y squared and y power 1. So from each y squared and y squared I take only one outside the square root, and what remains inside is y. Also for z power 2 I take z power 2, I take only one of them, and what remains inside the square root is z. So let us arrange what we write here. So this will be 5 square root 21 x squared, y squared, z squared, and what remains inside here is square root y and square root z. I can put them together in one radical, so yz under this square root, and this will be the final answer.